In episode 2, we watched a river choose to be beautiful for 3 weeks each year. We floated beneath a ceiling of 10,000 living stars that were hunting in the dark. We stood beside a lake that turned the dead into stone, and through all of it, one question kept forming beneath the surface. Not where do these wonders exist, but how? How does something fragile, something biological, something that needs water and warmth and the right chemistry push into environments that should end it instantly? And not just survive there, thrive there, build entire worlds there. That question is what this episode is made of, because this planet has produced creatures so precisely, so ruthlessly adapted to impossible environments that the line between organism and landscape has almost disappeared. Today we meet 5 of them, and by the end, you will not look at survival the same way again. We begin in Madagascar. On a stone that wants to kill you, the Tsingy de Bemaraha is a limestone plateau in western Madagascar where millions of years of rainfall dissolved the rock from above while groundwater carved it from below. What remains is a forest of stone needles, thousands of razor-edged spires rising from the ground, packed so densely that moving between them is impossible for a human being on foot. The local name translates, with complete accuracy, as the place where one cannot walk barefoot. The spires reach 60 feet high. Their tips puncture boot leather. The corridors between them are too narrow for a human body. There is no path through the Tsingy. There is only the Tsingy, and yet something lives here. Not despite the stone, because of it. The Deccan sifaka is a lemur found almost exclusively in the Tsingy. It weighs 9 pounds. Its legs are built like springs long, dense-muscled, disproportionate to its body. Its hands have padded palms with a grip calibrated over millions of years to close on surfaces no wider than a blade. Watch it move, and your brain cannot process what it is doing. It launches from one spire to another, threading its body through gaps in the stone at full speed, landing on a tip no wider than 2 fingers, absorbing the impact with bent knees and a tail that adjusts mid-air like a rudder. It does not slow before a jump. It accelerates. Because in the Tsingy, hesitation is not caution. Hesitation is death. The stone is not the sifaka's obstacle. The stone is its home, its armor, and its entire world. And what the sifaka does with its body, other creatures do with their chemistry. In the highland lakes of the Andes in Bolivia, Chile, and Peru, 3 species of flamingo nest in water so chemically hostile, it has almost no parallel in the natural world. Laguna Colorada sits at 15,000 feet above sea level. Hypersaline, rich in borax and heavy metals, colored blood red by salt-tolerant algae. Temperatures drop below freezing at night. Ultraviolet radiation during the day is intense enough to damage unprotected skin in minutes. For any large vertebrate, this environment should be a death sentence. 80,000 flamingos nest here, not passing through, nesting, raising chicks, building mud mound nests on water that burns. They feed by filtering the algae that nothing else wants to eat. In water, nothing else tolerates. At an altitude nothing else bothers to reach. They turned a landscape that excluded every other large animal into a private ecosystem that belongs entirely to them. The flamingo did not find a hostile environment and learn to cope with it. It found a hostile environment and decided, over millions of years, to own it. Look out across Laguna Colorada. On a still morning, 80,000 flamingos standing in blood-red water beneath the sky. So thin the stars are still visible at dawn, and try to remember that this place was supposed to be empty. That distinction between coping and owning is the defining line between ordinary survival and what we are witnessing today. Because the creatures in this episode do not merely endure their environments. They render those environments uninhabitable for everything else. They use hostility as a moat. No example makes this clearer than what lives at the edge of Yellowstone's boiling spring. The water at the center of the Grand Prismatic Spring reaches 160 degrees Fahrenheit. Proteins denature. Cell membranes rupture. Every biological process that keeps a living thing alive collapses within seconds. This is not hostile water. This is water chemically committed to ending life. And yet, thermophilic bacteria colonize the outer rings at temperatures between 100 and 140 degrees. They photosynthesize, they reproduce, they build layered communities called microbial mats, ecosystems so complex that scientists have described them, more than once, as the planet in miniature. These organisms did not evolve to tolerate heat, they evolved in heat. The cool, mild, oxygen-rich world we inhabit is, from their perspective, the extreme environment. The color rings around Yellowstone Springs are not decoration. They are a map of survival, each band a different species, living at the precise outer limit of what its biology permits, stacked outward from the boiling center like the rings of a target, drawn by evolution itself. Now go further. Go deeper. Into a place where even the concept of light has no meaning. At hydrothermal vents on the ocean floor, pressure is so extreme that water reaches 400 degrees Fahrenheit without boiling. Light has never reached these depths. The chemical environment is saturated with hydrogen sulfide, toxic to virtually all surface life. Tube worms 15 feet long live beside these vents permanently. They have no mouth, no digestive system. Instead, they host billions of chemosynthetic bacteria inside a specialized organ bacteria that convert toxic hydrogen sulfide into energy, feeding the worm from within. The worm provides shelter, the bacteria provide nutrition. Two organisms locked in an arrangement so complete that neither survives without the other. Thriving where both should be impossible. Scientists discovered hydrothermal vent ecosystems in 1977. Before that, the consensus was that all life ultimately depended on sunlight. The tube worms proved that wrong in a single expedition. Entire food webs, shrimp, crabs, fish, octopus exist in total permanent darkness, powered not by the sun, but by the chemistry of the planet's interior. Life does not need the sun. It needs chemistry. It needs a gradient, something to push against. Give it that in any form, at any temperature, under any pressure, and life will use it. Not eventually. Immediately and completely. That is not a metaphor. That is 50 years of documented, replicated deep ocean research. Extremophile organisms have since been found in the frozen brine channels of Antarctic ice, in volcanic crater lakes with pH values close to zero, in the cooling cores of nuclear reactors. In the stratosphere, 30 miles above the surface of the Earth, life keeps arriving at places we decided it could not go. And it keeps being there already when we arrive. The sifaka leaps between the knives. The flamingo nests in the acid. The bacteria map the edge of boiling. The tube worm makes a home of darkness and poison. And something microscopic drifts in the stratosphere above your head right now, riding ultraviolet winds between continents, completely unbothered. They are not the exceptions. They are the evidence. Evidence that life on this planet does not wait for permission, does not negotiate with its environment, does not ask whether the conditions are suitable. It arrives, it adapts, it owns the place, and then it waits patient as stone, quiet as deep water, for something curious enough to finally come looking. We came looking, and what we found keeps revising everything we thought we knew. In episode 4, we turn from life to faith, from the biological to the human, to the places people built in locations so impossible, the structures themselves feel like arguments with gravity. There is a valley in northern Greece where sandstone pillars rise from the plain, like fingers reaching for the sky, and on top of those pillars, suspended in open air with nothing below them but a 300-foot drop, monasteries have stood since the 14th century. The monks had no roads, no scaffolding, no machines. They climbed the rock faces by hand, hauled stone and timber up in rope baskets, and built places of worship on summits where clouds rest. The name they gave this place is Meteora, which means, in Greek, suspended in air. Standing beneath those cliffs today, looking up at walls that float between heaven and earth, you understand the name is not poetry. It is engineering. A temple in China clings to a vertical rock face on wooden beams driven into the cliff, surviving 5 centuries of earthquakes without a single beam pulling free. A castle on a Sri Lankan rock was built by a king. So consumed by guilt, he carved a palace into the summit of a 600-foot monolith and never came down. The impossible builders are next. Their structures are still standing, and their reasons for building them are stranger and more human than anything this planet's biology ever produced.